So again, my name is Ken Jocelyn. Thanks for hosting. Thanks for being a part of our Growth Stack Drive webinar today as we talk about crushing limited beliefs. We're going to start all the way back from the top. A great way for you guys to connect with our team at Growth Stack Drive is through our website at growthstackdrive.com, at growthstackdrive.com, or we've got a new feature we're using an app called Community. It's in beta stage. We were actually referred by Jared Glant and Grant Cardone to be able to be a part of the community platform. We have our own Atlanta-based text number. If you grab your phone, if you're not already on that, we've got several hundred people that are in our Growth Stack Drive community. This gives us the opportunity to be able to communicate directly with you, and then gives you the ability to be able to communicate directly with myself and my team. That number is 404-737-4464. That's 404-737-4464. So if you'll grab your phone out, if you'll text that number, just text me your name, and then that will opt you in, and we can communicate back and forth. Anything you need from myself or from my team, I'm constantly dropping things for our whatever. If we're in a 21-day challenge or a 14-day challenge, constantly dropping information for our community as well. So hey, today I want to talk about mindset and limited beliefs. And today we're going to tackle 3 limited belief systems that I think will help you overcome and grow not only personally, but professionally and financially as well. I'm going to talk about mindset. And mindset is a word that we're hearing a lot today, but I want to give you the definition of mindset. And it's this: it's an established set of attitudes held by someone. So mindset is an established set of attitudes. It's how we believe. It's a way of thinking. It's how we feel about someone or something. And a lot of times when we talk about mindset, it really is about how we feel about ourselves or what we think that we are capable of. And one of the things over the past several weeks since we dropped our GSD Code series, which is housed on Kajabi, it's 3 8-week video courses on mindset, strategy, and leadership development. But one of the things we've talked about over the past 4 or 5 weeks, wrapped around mindset, is this concept and this idea of limited belief system. And here's what a limited belief system is. A limited belief system is something that limits your ability to be able to see the potential in your future. It literally, as the definition on the screen says now, it limits what you believe is possible for you and for your life. And I shared last weekend on our webinar a little bit of my story. I'm going to give you about a 2-minute overview of my story. About 12 months ago this weekend, today, I was sitting on a webinar. I saw an ad for a guy named Grant Cardone. I have been in the real estate business over the past 25 years. I spent about half of that time in full-time vocational ministry, pastoring churches, planting churches. The other half of that time in the real estate business. I was a mortgage broker, a very successful mortgage broker in the state of Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. 2 offices, 14 loan officers. I was the #1 wholesale broker for Countrywide and SunTrust for 3 years in a row. And we were cranking out about $80 million a year over in my mortgage company. So I've done probably 200 to 300 or more $1 million in real estate transactions for the past 4 years. I'm back in the real estate business. But this time last year, I found myself bored. I found myself really struggling with this same limited beliefs. I just didn't see what the future looked like for me. I found this guy named Grant Cardone. I found an ad, hopped on a webinar a year ago, literally this weekend, today. A year ago today, I watched this guy talk about potential, talk about future, found myself getting in a mentorship program with Grant. A week later, I'm in Miami for this thing called 10X Boot Camp. And literally the last year has been an up and to the right. We literally have seen my business grow about 619%. Just on the real estate side, we've scaled our real estate team from myself. In the last 2 months of last year, we grew 600% in my real estate business, which afforded me the opportunity to be able to finish 7th out of 3,725 agents in the state of Georgia. In one of the fastest growing real estate companies in the state of Georgia. I closed right at $11 million in real estate deals last year on my own. Since then, we've scaled. We've got a team in Birmingham, Alabama, and a team in Atlanta, Georgia. But what happened last year for me in that process of really 12 months ago was I literally was at a point in my life. I'll never forget. I was down at 10X boot camp, and I walked into a hallway after now a friend of mine named Richard Dolan shared about the Cardone licensee program. And I walked out in the hallway, and I had an impromptu meeting with Grant Cardone, and he just kind of looked at me. I was asking some questions about the Cardone licensee program. Grant looked at me and he goes, "Ken, what are you here for?" And I said, "Grant," I said, "I want to blow the lid off of my mindset of what's a lot of money and what does business look like." And literally had no idea that I was struggling with limited belief system. And again, a limited belief system is the one thing that I think hinders and really gets in the way with more people being significant and successful in their own personal lives, their professional lives, and their financial lives. And that is, and exactly what a limited belief system does, is it keeps you from seeing the potential of your future, which is where I was. I was making about $10,000 to $12,000 a month at the time in real estate, which you say, "Ken, man, I'd love to make $140,000 a month," but I was miserable. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no passion. I was working about 10 hours a day. I had more passion for officiating college basketball and umpiring college baseball than I really did just about anything in my life. And what happened that weekend was, and this is what I've shared with Grant, I've shared in the past, was really the businessman on the inside of me. And I told Grant, as I described this to him, the vernacular that I could explain it in was that the businessman on the inside of me was born again that weekend, and something ridiculous happened. And I literally, every limited belief system that I had literally was stripped away that weekend. And over the past 12 months, we have seen unbelievable growth, not only in my real estate business, but we started the Growth Stack Drive brand. We dropped 3 online courses. I've become one of Grant Cardone's top licensees. Well, we're in the process of holding our first ever Growth Stack Drive Code Boot Camp in Nashville, Tennessee, with my good friends, Coach Michael Burt, Anthony Trucks. We've started a GSD podcast where we've had people like Grant Cardone, to Elena Cardone, to Brad Lee, to Tim Story, to Greg Reed, to Sharon Lecter. Not only that, but we do a virtual summit once a month where we're bringing in thought leaders like those guys that I mentioned, Nikki Sharp, Steve Sims, Ken Coleman from Dave Ramsey's Entree Leadership Podcast, people that we've developed relationships with over the past year to doing our online coaching. And I literally wish I had an opportunity to be able to share testimonies. We've got another webinar in a couple of weeks as we're about to start a 14-day challenge that I'll share about more today, and you guys can follow along online. My Instagram handle is @KenJocelyn. You can follow along. We're constantly adding value. But today I want to hit on limited belief systems. And what they do, guys, is they limit the ability for you to be able to see the potential in your future. Today, I want to go over 3 limited belief systems. And these 3 limited belief systems are huge. Number 1 is fear. Number 2 is scarcity. And number 3 is comparison. In our GSD code, we actually hit 6 limited belief systems. But today, I just want to drill down on 3 of those really, really quick. Oops, don't want to go there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hop back on, and we're going to go live right here. And here's the 3 things that I want to share with you guys today. Let me open up my chat room right here. Stacy Harris, thanks for being there. Christian Gomez, yes, he said, "Love you, bro, grit." For those of you guys that don't know, yesterday, actually in the last couple, 2 or 3 days, I had a little bit of a fever on, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. Wasn't feeling too well, kind of chills, kind of hot. And then yesterday I got a little cough. Yes, you guessed it. Went and got tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. So I feel great. Got a little bit of a cough, slept great last night. I'm looking forward to being able to deliver some great content for you guys today. And so what I want to do is I want to jump in that first limited belief system today called fear. And guys, I share with you a quick story. I shared with you that in the past, I spent out of the past 25 years, about half of that in full-time vocational ministry. One of my ministry experiences was I was a youth pastor. And so when we're born as babies, we're born with only 2 fears. There's only 2 things that we're afraid of. Number 1 is the fear of falling. And number 2 is the fear of loud noises. So when we talk about limited belief systems, we talk about the limiting belief system of fear, scarcity, and today comparison. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes on each of those. When we talk about those 3 limited belief systems, what I want you to know is this: the only 2 fears that we're born with are the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. which means everything else that we have in our life, every other limited belief system, every other fear that we know, those fears are all learned. All the fears that we have of success, of failure, of being judged, all of those things are learned fears. The fear of scarcity the limited belief system of scarcity is a learned limited belief system. The limited belief system of comparison is a learned limited belief system. So one of the things that we teach in our GSD code course, the Grow course, as we tackle 6 of those limited belief systems is this. If I can learn a limited belief system, guess what I can do? I can also unlearn that same limited belief system. So we do 3 things around each of these 6 limited belief systems that we teach in GSD code. And that's we identify, we remove, and then we replace. We're going to talk about that today. But before we get started, I'd love for you guys that are joining us today. If you're joining us online on YouTube or joining us online on Facebook, I'd love for you in the comments real quick to just jot down who you are, where you're from, and the best way for somebody to follow you, just like I did there. And here's a little shortcut for you, like that whole Ken Johnson, Atlanta, Birmingham, would love to connect. I've got a shortcut on my phone, on my Apple products, my phone, my iMac that I'm on now, and my MacBook that sits over in my kitchen on my island. I've got a shortcut, KJI, Ken Johnson Instagram, boom, and it automatically types that up. So anytime somebody wants to know who I am or what I got going on, super simple, invest in your keyboard shortcuts. That was actually free today. So if you're on the webinar joining us today, I'd love for you to jot down in the chat where you're from. Best way for people to follow you, obviously on Facebook. People are going to know how to follow you because you're on Facebook, but would love your Instagram handle there as well. I would love to follow you. Our team would love to follow you because we're constantly adding value. So let's talk about fear. Again, I mentioned just a minute ago, there are 2 fears that we're born with, and only 2 fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's why when if any of you are parents, when you have a baby, if something falls or there's loud noise, baby can be dead asleep. Immediately they're waking up and they're crying and they're afraid. I'll share a story with you guys real quick. I mentioned earlier about my ministry experience. My first ministry experience was I youth pastored for several years. We grew a youth ministry from about 5 to 6, 7 kids to several hundred kids a week. Unbelievable experience. But one of the most terrifying experiences for me was, as we talk about the limiting belief system of fear, I took my kids on a retreat up in the Smoky Mountains in the Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee area. And somebody had the bright idea of going bungee jumping. Well, as I mentioned before, we're born with a fear of falling. And the fear of heights is something I absolutely, I don't know about you guys, but I hate, if you hate heights, type in the comments on Facebook or Facebook or here on Zoom or on YouTube. I absolutely hate heights. So I take all these kids, they're wanting to go bungee jumping. Hey, we got 25, 30 kids. We're in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, riding go-karts, and they're bungee jumping, and we're just having a blast. And I get up on this bungee jump platform, like, right, you walk up the steps. I'm tracking up there, and every level of steps I get up, I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking high. Like, I just don't know if I can do this. Well, my kids, they're jumping off head first. Woo, they're having a blast. I get up there. Well, they strap me in, and I walk out on this little 2-foot by 2-foot platform. They count down 3, 2, 1 bungee, and you're supposed to jump. Well, she counted down 3, 2, 1 bungee for 13 minutes. And I was still standing on this 2 by 2, holding on like for dear life, looking down at this 100 and whatever feet jump it was. And those giant inflatable bags that you're supposed to jump on. It looks like it was about that big from the height that I was at. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified of jumping. I stood there for 13 minutes, and the poor little girl that was at the venue in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, finally looked at me. She goes, Ken, she goes, sir, you're either going to have to jump or you're going to have to walk back down the stairs. And I thought to myself, man, there is no way. And I've got kids all down there hollering at me. They're quoting scripture. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. And I'm like, listen, I love Jesus, but man, that's a long way down. I don't know about this whole bungee jumping thing. I stood there so long, I literally had attracted a crowd on the strip in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. People were standing there watching me like they were watching some jumper on the side of a building. It was absolutely hilarious. The girl goes, sir, you're either going to have to jump or you got to walk back down the stairs. And I said, well, count down. There was no way I was going to walk back down the stairs. My fear of jumping was less than my fear of what I would have had to put up with had I walked back down those stairs. And I said, go ahead and count. And she said 3, 2. And the moment she said 2, I jumped. And I literally, when you're bungee jumping, they've got you strapped. They've got that big kind of I don't know, it looks like an inflatable kind of squishy thing. Dude, I'm gripping this thing about to squeeze it in half. And about halfway down, I'm like, dude, this is amazing. I literally opened my eyes and spread my arms and my legs. I was like, dude, this is the most amazing thing ever. Got done, hit the ground, got off, and everybody down there, because they'd waited on me to jump so long, said it was the longest anybody had ever stood up there. I was like, dude, that was so much fun. The guy's like, well, you want to do it again? I said, sure. So they let me walk right back up the steps, cut in line in front of everybody, strap me up. This time when she started counting, I literally dove head first from 150, 180 feet, however high it is. It was high. I dove head first. And so what happened that day was I conquered that fear. And here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about mindset, because a mindset is an established set of beliefs. It's what you think about yourself and what you think about what you're able to do and what your future looks like. In a limited belief system like fear, scarcity, and comparison, the 3 we're going to hit today, the limited belief system, what it does is it robs your ability to be able to see the potential in your future. And that's exactly where I was a year ago. And I've been there in seasons of my life in the past. And today, my hope for you, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, if you're watching this on Zoom, or if you're watching this on YouTube Live, my hope for you today is that you find some freedom from whatever limited belief system, whether it's fear, whether it's scarcity, whether it's comparison, whether it's insecurity, whether it's success. Success is also a limited belief system. Whatever that limited belief system is that you struggle with, my hope and prayer for you today is that you find victory over that limited belief system. Because a limited belief system literally robs you of your ability to be able to see the future. Ken, how do I know if I'm struggling with a limited belief system? What do you see your future look like? What does it look like? Does your limited belief system, does your future look like something that you want to run after? Does your future look like something that causes you, look at this is my 10X planner, that causes you to write your goals down twice a day, every day? I've been doing this. I've got 6 journals packed over there that have the entire last 12 months of vision and goals that I write down 2 times every day. Listen, if you struggle, I say this all the time. If you need an alarm clock to get out of bed, your goals aren't big enough. And if your goals aren't big enough, it normally is an indicator that you struggle with a limited belief system, because it's robbed your ability to be able to see your future. So let's talk about fear, number 1. Let's talk about the limiting belief system of fear. And I want to give you the definition of fear. A fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. Just like I was when I was on top of that bungee. I'm like, man, there's no way if I jump off this thing, I'm gonna die. Well, the reality of it was I wasn't gonna die. There was nothing about it. It was a fear. It was something that gripped me from being able to make a decision or seeing the potential in my future. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about any limiting belief system that we have. Number 1, they're learned. So if they're learned, we can do what, guys? We can unlearn those. So I want to talk about identifying, removing, and replacing. So what we have to do is we've got to replace the limited belief system of fear with courage. We've got to replace the limited belief system of fear with courage. Ken, how do I do that? Man, you've got to attack your fear. What are you afraid of? What's the number 1 thing when you get up in the morning, whether it be in your business or your personal life? What's the thing that you're afraid of? I know I see Rosa is on here today. I see Chris and David Rittenauer. A lot of our Grow Stack Drive family are on here today. Rosa just completed her 75 hard, which is an unbelievable workout. 2 45-minute workouts a day, one of them outside, a gallon of water, no alcohol, some kind of a nutrition diet plan, no sugars, no sweets, those kind of things. And one of the things that I know that she went through in that whole process was about the last 2-3 weeks. I think she had a stress fracture in her foot, or she had injured her foot. She had to literally wear a boot And she literally completed almost the last 21 days, I think it was almost 2 to 3 weeks of her 75 hard with a boot on her foot. What happened when she got hurt? She was afraid she wasn't going to be able to complete that 75 hard. You know what she did? She conquered that fear by doing one thing, attacking it head on. We've got to be able to identify, remove, and replace. I know that if I'm afraid of something, number one, I've got to identify it. So here's what I want you to do. Grab a pen, grab a sheet of paper. I want you to write down, like, what's the one thing that you're afraid of in your life right now? Like, what's the one fear? Are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid people are going to judge you? Are you afraid people are going to laugh at you? Like, what's your biggest fear right now? Is your fear that you look in your family history and your family tree and no one's ever been successful? And you're afraid, you know what, Ken, I don't know that I can be successful. I've never seen it modeled out for me. So I've got a fear of being successful. I want you to write that fear down right now. So I want you to identify it. And then how we're going to remove that is huge on affirmations. One of the things that we teach, you can go to our Grow Stack Drive Facebook page. It's a private page. If you're on today and you'd like to be a part of that Grow Stack Drive Facebook page, if you'll type that in the chat room here or in the chat room on YouTube or on Facebook, Stacy, my executive assistant, is on here. She runs all things Grow Stack Drive and for the Ken Johnson team, our real estate team. She'll make sure you get some access to that. And you'll be able to see dozens and dozens and dozens of people who literally every day are writing their affirmations down. My good friend David Ridenour is on here today. David Ridenour, I'd love for you to write some of your affirmations down there. Rosa says she's got 2 fears: making the wrong decision that will put my family back years. Making the wrong decision. So let me ask you a question, guys. When someone has a fear like Rosa's talking about of making the wrong decision that puts their family back years, and then also looking like a fool in the eyes of the family, what happens when we have that limited belief system, or we give into that fear? It executes. It terminates our ability to be able to make decisions. And if we can't make decisions, listen, we can't move forward. If we can't make decisions, then we're never going to not only take our family back years, but we're never going to be able to move our family ahead. And the reality of it is we understand, as we talked about in the past, when I struggle with a limited belief system of fear, listen, you're not always going to make the right decision. You're just not going to. You're going to make a mistake. And I say this a lot. When you make a mistake, it doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't prove that you're bad. It just proves that you're human. Like, we're going to make mistakes. And the only way around that mistake is, number one, I say this all the time, 2 things. Number one, own it, and own it quick. Repent. Get that out of you. Like, if it was a willful thing that you did, just own it, apologize, repent, make it right with whoever you got to make it right. But if it's something that you didn't know in your business or in your personal life and you made a wrong decision, listen, try to find some counsel from some people who have been down the road where you want to go. So fear, number one, what we're going to do is we're going to attack that fear. We're going to write an affirmation. David Ridenour wrote this down. He goes, I choose to do great things today. And literally an affirmation. I'm going to do this. Here is a link. And they're going to post this, growstackdrive.com/free. There's a link to a free preview of our 3 courses, our Grow Stack Drive courses we dropped on Kajabi. We shot these in Atlanta. We've spent 6 figures investing in these 3 courses because we know how big of a difference and how powerful it's made a difference in other people's lives. This is a free preview for you. You can log in there, put your information on, and you've got an opportunity to be able to watch these. But in those videos, we talk about personal daily affirmations every single morning, getting up and speaking to yourself. Because here's what happens. How we think is how we speak. How we speak turns into what we do, and what we do in turn leaves or does not leave a legacy for our life. So fear. We're going to replace our fear with courage. So what does that mean? It's like that really cool commercial for the Marines, that Marine commercial where it talks about, and you see the battle, you can see the battle going on, and there's cloud and there's dust and everybody's running away from the battle. And it talks about, as Marines, we run to the battle. Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to change your mindset on identify, remove, and replace whatever that fear is. But I want you to run into that fear. If your fear is making cold calls, if you're in sales and your fear is making, the very first thing you need to do in the morning is make those calls. Whatever your fear is needs to be the thing that you attack first. Mike Tyson was on my good friend Richie Dolan had Mike. He's a mentor and life coach for Mike Tyson. So Mike was on a small group Zoom call with us yesterday. And I love one of the things Mike Tyson says. He goes, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, listen, fear does not like to be punched in the face. So what we have to do is, in that process of identifying, removing, and replacing, is we have to go after that fear. So we're going to attack our fear. We're going to replace fear with courage. So here's what I want you to do. Whatever your fear is, whatever that fear might be for you, and I love David Rittenhour's here today. Today, I will enjoy each moment to the fullest. I choose kindness today. I'm ready to start the day. I am in charge of my life. Now, these are personal affirmations that David wrote in the GSD code that we have, that we gave you guys a free access to, or free preview to. We have about 5 or 7 affirmations per limiting belief system. And then we ask for you to write down 5 to 7 your own affirmations for each of those limited belief systems. And I promise you guys, what we're seeing in our Growth Stack Drive group, and I'm talking about dozens of people over the past 6 to 8 months, is we're seeing people overcoming limited belief systems and achieving things in their business and in their life, their personal, professional, and financial lives in ways that they've never seen growth and wins before. So the second thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about scarcity. I'm going to tell you a story real quick. I grew up in a single parent home. Parents were divorced at 8 years old. My mom moved us from from Michigan, where I was born and raised, to Georgia. From 5th or 6th grade to my senior year in high school, I moved back and forth from one parent to the other parent 6 different times. I went to 12 schools in 12 years. It was a very fluid and a very transitional childhood. Again, 12 schools in 12 years. I have friends all over the country, but we grew up very poor. I remember being a freshman in high school. So scarcity is something that I have struggled with. It's still something that I struggle with today. And I literally have to use my affirmations. I have to speak to that limited belief system of scarcity. I remember my freshman year of high school. I had worked all summer at a McDonald's. It was $471. I'll never forget that. I'd saved $471 my freshman year, 15 years old. It's $471. And I remember going to Kmart and buying my own school clothes that year because I'd never really had school clothes. Well, one of the things we did that year was my granny, my mom had taken me to buy a pair of Levi's. And I'll never forget, we went in to get the Levi's and we came outside, and, just a pair of Levi's or a pair of Nikes was huge. This was, gosh, a long time ago, back in 1980, probably 82, 83, right around my 8th grade freshman year of high school. And I never forget coming outside, and I had a pair of Levi's, and they were $28. Never forget it. Walked out in the car, and I had these Levi's, and they were in the bag. I was so proud of these Levi's, and my granny was sitting there. Now, she was just an old country girl from the mountains in Virginia. And I pulled the Levi's out and I was showing them to her, and the receipt was there. And I never forget my granny saying, $28? You paid $28 for a pair of jeans? This is what my granny said, pardon the language. She said, I wouldn't pay $28 for a pair of jeans if the ass was stitched in gold. And so that's the mindset that I grew up with as a child. That $28 for a pair of jeans was this unbelievable amount. Well, what did that teach me? That taught me as a young middle school and just entering into high school, it taught me that to live in scarcity, to not be able to see myself with more. So I want to define scarcity for you real quick. Scarcity creates the illusion that there is not enough resources to go around. It preys on insufficiency. Listen to that. It preys on insufficiency and shortness of supply. You want to give you a perfect example of scarcity? When COVID hit back in March, you couldn't find toilet paper. I never forget going with my family to the Walmart here in Birmingham, Alabama, going to the Walmart, and there was a guy who was pushing a buggy. He literally had toilet paper stacked so high, he had to look around the buggy because the toilet paper, and every now and then a big thing would fall off. What causes that? Let me tell you what causes that. The limited belief system of scarcity. And again, a limited belief system is something that keeps you from seeing the ability or the possibility of your own individual future. What in the world are you going to do with all that toilet paper? It literally is. Scarcity creates the illusion that there is not enough to go around. Again, we talked about COVID. We do realize that since COVID, just in the United States of America, that our government put into circulation over an extra $1.5 trillion. You know what that means? That means there's more money in circulation in the United States of America today than has ever been in existence. So scarcity creates the illusion that there's not enough to go around. But what I'm telling you, and what facts will tell you, is there is more money in the United States of America today than there was even before COVID. I want you to take a second and let that sink in. I want you to let that sink in. See, listen, scarcity is entirely devoted to the idea of lack. That's why my granny would look at a $28 pair of jeans and be like, oh my God, I wouldn't pay that much for a pair of jeans if the ass was stitched in gold. She could not conceptualize that it's okay to go spend $28 on a pair of jeans. Today, we're like $28 for a pair of jeans. Woo, that'd be $128 is good for a pair of jeans today. Scarcity is entirely devoted on the idea of lack. Lack of resources, lack of money, or lack of anything else that you may have or need in your life. When you have a scarcity limited belief system, listen to this. You truly believe there is not enough of what you need to go around. And what this does is this causes people to hoard. It's so bad that we even have a TV show called Hoarders, where literally when you walk in people's houses, it's like a maze because they're hoarding stuff. Why? Because of the limited belief system of scarcity. The problem is in that limited belief system of scarcity, it constricts and removes the life of you being able to see the potential in your future, because that's what limited belief systems do. That's why they are so deadly. So what are we going to do? We're going to replace scarcity with abundance. We've got to replace scarcity with abundance. So here's what happens. A scarcity mindset blocks you from being able to bless people. I walked into Waffle House. I've been on a fitness journey myself we're actually right at a year, maybe a little bit over a year now. I'm down to almost 50 pounds. I walked into Waffle House one night last year. I was playing basketball with some friends back in Georgia. Walked into Waffle House. It's about 11:30 at night, and wanted to get some bacon and some eggs, some protein. Had a great workout. So I walk into a Waffle House, and here's why it's important, guys, for you not to have a scarcity mindset. Because a scarcity mindset not only affects you, but it also affects everyone else. That limited belief system of scarcity literally robs you from blessing everyone else. Because if you can't bless yourself and take care of you, you can't take care of everyone else. Walked in that Waffle House about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, sitting at the table. And there's one cook and one waitress at Waffle House. This gentleman walks in, and he's got 3 kids with him. And the kids walk in, and the mom obviously was the waitress, and they're all waving at their mom. And they're like, hey, Mom, how you doing? And they're like, I think it was a 9th grader, a middle schooler, maybe a 3rd, 4th grader, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grader, something like that, an elementary school kid. And so they walk in the door, and she waves bye to the guy, and the guy leaves. And I finish my breakfast, and I walk up to her. And again, it's midnight, nobody's there. I walk up to her, and I get ready to pay my bill, and I tip her really well. And I said, hey, was that your husband that dropped your kids off? Just making conversation with her. And she goes, no. She goes, my husband died a month ago. My husband died last month. And she goes, all he left me was these 3 kids. And this was it was almost on my birthday, is August the 7th. It was a day or two before my birthday of last year. And it was in August the 7th, was actually last year was the day that school started in Georgia. And she goes, all he left me was these 3 kids. And I was like, wow. Bill was $8. I think I tipped her 15. I tipped her pretty good. I usually try to do that. And I don't normally have a lot of cash on me, but that day I think I had $240, all 20s. And I'm sitting there, and as clear as I've heard God speak to me in the past, I heard him that day. And I pulled out that $240 and I kind of counted out because I wasn't sure what I had. And I put it on the table right in front of the cash register at Waffle House. And I kind of fanned it out a little bit. And this is what I told that lady. I said, listen, I'm not here by accident tonight. I said, God wants you to know that he hasn't forgotten about you and that he loves you. And I slid that $240 across that counter at Waffle House. And I watched this waitress just a couple of days before school started with 3 kids who lost her husband not even 30 days ago to congestive heart failure, she told me. And I watched her begin to weep. And she goes, can I hug you? And I said, yeah, as long as you let me pray for you, of course you can hug me. So she come around the counter. She got all of her kids there. And she said, guys, look what this guy's done. And I looked all of her kids in the eye. I prayed for every one of them. And I said, listen, I just want you guys to know, man, God loves you. He hadn't forgot about you. But can I tell you what a limited belief system of scarcity does? Because some of you guys are watching this today and you're thinking, man, I wish I could do that. Well, you can, but you've got to overcome the limited belief system of scarcity. The scarcity will tell you that there's not enough to go around. Listen, there's $1.5 trillion more in circulation in the United States than there was even before COVID. So the excuse that you have of there's not enough money for me to start my business. I could never do what you did at the Waffle House because I just don't have enough money. I could never do this because I just don't have enough of whatever the resource it is you need to be able to do what you want to do. It literally strangles your ability to be able to see your future. That's what limited belief systems do. They limit your ability to be able to see the potential in your own future. And if you can't see the potential in your own future, how in the world are you ever going to see the potential in someone else's future? That lady got around that night and she's bawling. The kids are there. They're looking at $240. My hope and prayer for that day was this, that those kids knew, number one, man, God loves me, hadn't forgot about me. But number two, that, hey, if this guy can walk in off the street and we have a chance encounter, which I don't believe was chance, but in their mindset, it may have been chance encounter. And this guy can walk in and do this for us. How come I can't grow up and do this for somebody else? So how do we get rid of a scarcity mindset? Number one, you've got to replace scarcity with abundance. And here's an affirmation. Here's an affirmation for you to get out of scarcity. And it's this. It's, I don't want something from you. I want something for you. People that want something from people on a consistent basis almost always operate in the limiting belief system of scarcity. Let me say that one more time for you. And this is ridiculously powerful. People that are constantly wanting something from other people, or they're constantly going after something that other people have, almost always, inevitably are walking in a limited belief system of scarcity almost every time. So here's 2 indicators of a scarcity mindset. Number one, you either want to spend it all. As soon as you make it, you want to spend it, or you want to save it all. You either want to spend it all or you want to save it all. Those are 2 indicators of a scarcity mindset. And just as a scarcity mindset is learned. So if it's learned, we can unlearn it. We identify, we remove, and replace. So that's scarcity. The last one I want to talk about, I've got about 10 minutes. I want to hit this real quick. And then I want to share with you again. Everything that I'm talking about is available on our GSD code series. You can get that at growstackdrive.com/free. Stacy will share that on YouTube and share that on Facebook as well. You can log on there, guys. Tons of the content that we're giving out today are on the GSD code. And then also we've got coaching on Wednesday night. We've got about 30 people on our online coaching group that's available too. What an unbelievable community. And today, if you're here today, we want to add value and give you an opportunity to be a part of our Grow Stack Drive private Facebook page. That's limited for people that have paid to be in our online coaching or paid to be a part of our GSD code. But we want to give that to you today for free, just to add value to you. So the last limited belief system I want to talk about is comparison. And this is actually one that we talked about this past Wednesday night in our online coaching call, is comparison. And one of the things I want to say about comparison is comparison is always bad, but it's always done in 2 ways. Number one, when you get around people who are successful, or who have more than you, or who are more significant than you, or let's just say this, they're further down the road than where you want to go. I had Josh Penland on our call Wednesday night. He's a young man I've helped mentor. I've watched this kid make great decisions. Not always great decisions, but great decisions. It's put him in a point now, here 10 years later, since I've been in his life, had the opportunity to watch him get out of really the, poverty, parents in and out of prison, for drug use, drug sales. I've watched this young man grow into go to school, become one of the top welders in Northeast Georgia. Now he actually teaches at a technical school, teaches welders. But one the other day in comparison is this: comparison does two things. When you see someone who's a couple steps further down the road with you, do you look at them and think to yourself, there's no way I can ever be where they are? Because when we do that, what it does is it always gives us two improper views, comparison does, of ourselves. Number one, it makes us think of ourselves less than we should, because we look at someone who's successful or someone who's further down the road than us, and it causes us to think to ourselves, man, I can never do that. I could never live up to that. The second thing comparison does is, and we do this intentional, and you'll see people that do this. And when I say this, you're going to recognize this. We look at people who are a few steps behind us, or who are a good bit behind us in life, whether it be in our same industry, our same field, whether it be financially, whether it be professionally, whether it be at the gym, in whatever aspect. Now, listen, I'm a competitive guy, but what we'll do is we'll look at people who are behind us, and what it does is it gives us a false sense of an elevated self of who we are. When the reality of it is, this is the one thing, I don't do CrossFit. My family does CrossFit a lot. My wife, my kids do CrossFit a lot. The one thing that I love about CrossFit, and really the concept of CrossFit, is you compete against you. And really, guys, the one way you combat the limiting belief system of comparison is you compete against you. So comparison does two things. It causes us to think lower of ourselves than we should, or it gives us a false sense of thinking higher than we should of ourselves. Comparison is always the thief of joy. So how do we get rid of comparison? We replace comparison with confidence. We replace comparison with confidence. How do we do that? And I love my friend, Coach Michael Burt. He says, confidence is the memory of success. Ken, what if I don't have a ton of successes right now? Then you've got to stack some wins. You've got to think, and I talked about this last week a little bit, you've got to think first downs, not touchdowns. I've literally got a football game on right over here. I think it's South Carolina, and somebody is on my TV screen. You've got to think first downs, not touchdowns. Listen, if you're a sports fan and you understand a little bit about the game of football, don't go for the 80-yard bomb. Literally think first downs, not touchdowns. Put 3 or 4 plays together. Put 3 or 4 wins together. What's one way I can do that? I tell you, one way you can do that is when you get up in the morning, do exactly what I do every morning. Get up in the morning, write your goals down. Every morning, I'm writing my goals down. Every morning, I'm writing my quote down. What's my quote? I have the same quote every day, and it's my quote: get in rooms with people who think bigger than you do. I promise you, when you start stringing wins and stacking wins together, what happens is you'll begin to build confidence. What's confidence? As my friend Coach Michael Burt says, confidence is the memory of success. You've got to start stringing together wins. So we replace comparison with confidence. How we get confidence is the memory of success. We start stringing wins together. Guys, we've got to put wins together, whatever that looks like for you. Ken, why is writing my goals down twice a day a win? Because here's why. I write my goals down 3 times. I write my goals down every morning. I write my goals down every evening. And I write my goals down every time I have a setback. When COVID hit last March, I think it was probably the last time I really wrote my goals down. Maybe 1 of 2 times I've written my goals down over the past 6 or 7 months when I hit a setback. I had a commercial deal that was supposed to close. It was a $1.3 million deal. It was a $39,960 deal. Commission for me. That's another large commission for me. Literally, I sent my wiring instructions over to the attorney. We're 24 hours out from closing. We're ready to close the deal. Literally within 6 hours of that deal closing, it fell apart. And this was right as COVID was hitting. So we didn't know what in the world was going to happen with the world was like shutting down, right? It was shutting down. What'd I do that day? I sat down when I realized I have never in the hundreds of millions of dollars in transactions, real estate transactions that I've closed either as a mortgage broker or real estate in the real estate business. I've never sent wiring instructions to an attorney and not close that deal and that deal not funded and me not got paid. That was the very first one at the beginning of COVID. Whew, you're talking about some fear. You're talking about some scarcity. You're talking about some comparison. You're talking about limiting belief system trying to rack me. What did I do? I grabbed my 10X planner and I literally wrote my goals down again that day. Why? Because it centered me. It's a barometer that gets me focused on what I'm going after. Listen, we're going to suffer setbacks. We're going to suffer setbacks. We're going to have things happen to us. My good friend Mike Rock says all the time, we turn setbacks into rocket fuel. Listen, you're going to suffer things that aren't going to be good. But here's what we can't do. We can't afford to let one bad day turn into 2 bad days. We can't, listen, if you miss writing your goals down today, write them down right now. Let me ask you this question. When we talk about limited belief system of fear, scarcity, and comparison today, I write my goals down twice a day. That's over 700 times I'm writing my goals down this year. Most people write their goals down maybe once or twice a year. Let's say they write them down once a month. Let's say they write them down one time a week. That's 52 times to my 720 times. Who's going to win that battle? The individual that writes their goals down 720 times or the individual writes them down 50? Here's what I want you to do. Grab your pen and paper. I want you to write down. I want you to write down for you, for nobody else. I want you to write down on your notes today how many times you write your goals down in a year. And then I want you to write down two times a day, 365 times. That's 730 times. What would your life look like if you wrote your goals down 730 times? You want to talk about confidence is the memory of success. Start writing your goals down. Number one, here's what you'll see. Number one, you're going to see consistency in the way that you live. One of our 5 GSD code core values, and it's in that free preview at growstackdrive.com/free. Our 5 GSD code filters: passion, focus, intentionality, teachability, and flexibility. Passion is the very first one. Passion is how I attack my goals. How can I attack my goals in my day if I don't know what my goals are? How do I replace comparison with confidence? Confidence is the memory of success. If I don't have success, I can't replace it. I'm constantly going to be comparing myself. So passion. The third GSD code filter is teachability. And when we talk about teachability at Grow Stack Drive or in any one of my companies, we talk about it this way. I'm not only open to feedback, but I actively pursue feedback. I'm not only open to feedback, but I actively pursue feedback. So here's our affirmations. And I'd love for you guys to write these down. Obviously, they'll be on here. You can go back and watch the recording on our YouTube channel or on my Facebook channel. Here's 3 affirmations for you when we deal with comparison. And these things, guys, listen, we literally say these out loud every day. I'm not comparing myself to the person next to me. I am comparing myself to me. Like you are the one that you compare yourself to, nobody else. I am more interested in collaboration over competition. I talked to my good friend Carlos Reyes yesterday. Carlos is one of the top wholesale home flippers in America. Carlos has got a following on Instagram of over 1 million people now. And he's actually speaking today at Thrive, which is the top entrepreneur event in America, headed by Dan Fleischman, Corey Sperber, some of the guys that are some of the top influencers on social media. It is the top entrepreneur event. Carlos is speaking today at 5 o'clock in that event. And we were on the phone yesterday about 30 minutes. We're actually going to co-host an event in Scottsdale, Arizona. I think it's the 15th, 16th, and 17th of January, called 6 Months to 6 Figures. We're going to teach people how to take their coaching business from zero to grow to scale and get that thing to 6 months and 6 figures. We're going to do that in January. And one of the things Carlos said to me, he goes, Ken, He goes, the one thing I love about you is you always are looking to collaborate with other people. It's not about you. Listen, when you make it not about you and you make it about, and I say this all the time with our leadership team. I said it this morning on a phone call. It's not about who's right. It's about what's right. So here's that affirmation again. I am more interested in collaboration over competition. Here's the third one. I have compassion for everyone out there who is looking for more. I have compassion for everyone out there who is looking for more. So I want to give you two more things. How do I fight my way out of comparison? I want to give you a couple of things. Number one, I want you to be an encourager. I want you to be an encourager. I want you to get up in the morning looking for ways that you can encourage other people. Literally look for opportunities. When you take, again, I'm more interested in collaboration than competition. When you take the eyes off of yourself and you begin to look at your community, the people that are surrounding you, and how can I add value to these people? When you start looking for opportunities to be an encourager, listen, the word encouragement literally means to add courage to. And when you become an encourager, it's like a giant eraser for your own insecurities and your comparison in your life. Second thing is, I want you to compete against yourself. I don't want you to compete against anybody else. My good friend, Nate May, I know Nate's he's at his daughter's soccer game. He's our GSD MC. Is why he's not here with me today sharing this platform. Two of his daughters have soccer games today, but I know Nate started 75 hard, I think 2 weeks ago. I think 2 weeks or maybe even last week. And he said, my number one goal, my only goal to compete against myself every day is to get up at 4:30 a.m. Then my next goal was to hit my workout at 5:30 a.m. And dude, literally in the last 14 days, you see the transformation in his life already. Compete against yourself. One way you can compete against yourself and win is to journal well, just like this right here. Get you a journal, jot your stuff down. Think first downs, not touchdowns. I said this earlier. Think first downs, not touchdowns. And listen, I want you to fight back. Like whatever your fear, your scarcity, or that comparison is, that limited belief system, I want you to fight back. So here's what I want you guys to do. Stacy, if you guys will drop that link in for the GSD code free, I'm going to drop a link to growstackdrive.com/bootcamp. Guys, thanks for joining us today. I want to wrap up, but before I do that, yes, there is going to be a pitch. Ken, why is there a pitch? Because I know what we're doing at Grow Stack Drive can help you tremendously. We are seeing business owners who are absolutely seeing their businesses and their lives, their personal, professional, and financial lives transformed because of the community that we have at Grow Stack Drive, because of the online resources we have at Grow Stack Drive. We just mentioned tidbits today. Like there are hours and hours and hours of content talking about how to go after to create your mindset, which mindset is what? It's a set way of believing that things are going to happen in your life and around you. Limited belief systems, we've already established the definition. They rob you from your ability to be able to see the potential in your own future. It is a killer for you. So gsdcode.com growstackdrive.com/free. You can register for our free preview. The last thing I want to share with you is this. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And I want to show you guys exactly what we've got going on. November the 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is actually going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. This is going to be at my good friend Michael Burt's Lodge. This is our GSD Code Bootcamp. There's actually a little video clip there, gives you an idea of the quality of what we've put out on Kajabi, even though you can only see the bottom half of my head. GSD Code Bootcamp, November the 6th, 7th, and 8th in Nashville. We are 3 weeks away. In one weekend, we're going to help you grow your mindset, stack the odds in your favor, and drive your legacy forward. You can do this in 2 or 3 different ways. Our speakers, obviously, I'm going to be there. My good friend, Coach Michael Burt's one of the top business coaches in America, is going to be with us this weekend. And then one of my favorite people in the entire world, my guy, Anthony Trucks, speaker, author, consultant, former NFL player, American Ninja Warrior, Anthony is one of Tony Robbins' top communicators. He speaks on stages with guys like Tony Robbins, with Dean Graziosi. Anthony's one of my favorite people. And then there's my good friend, Nate May, who is the best kept secret in multiple industries. He is the wizard or the genie behind the curtain. So here's the agenda. You can go to growstackdrive.com/bootcamp. These tickets, guys, are $2,500 a piece. Today, we are offering a special where these tickets are $2,000. If you're interested in these, you can just say, hey, just if you'll type in the chat info, Christian or Bruce or somebody from our team will connect with you. These tickets are $2,000 today. If you want to bring a spouse or a coworker, you can bring a second individual for $1,000, for only $1,000. We've got room for about 75 people at this boot camp, and I believe right now we're a little bit over halfway sold out. It is going to be a phenomenal time. Listen, I know Grant's got an online boot camp coming up. This is going to be one of the only opportunities you're going to have to go to a live boot camp. And with myself, Coach Burt, Anthony Trucks, Nate May, and I've got a surprise guest. I mean, a big time surprise guest who's speaking on a big stage, who's going to be with us that weekend as well. I should be able to announce that in the next couple of days. Guys, listen, I promise you, this will be a game changer for you. People say, Ken, what, $2,000 or even $1,000 and for that extra ticket? That's a lot of money. Listen, I've spent in excess this year of over $70,000 in personal development just with Grant, just in the 10X community. That's what I've spent this year. I've spent another probably $12,000 to $15,000 with Coach Michael Burke already in the last 6 months in personal development for myself and for my team. This is and can be and will be a game changer for you and your team. So growstackdrive.com/bootcamp. We would love to have you there. It is going to be a phenomenal time. Obviously, our gift for you, if you want to be a part of our Grow Stack Drive private Facebook page, if you'll put that in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook or here on Zoom, we'll make sure that Stacy and the team gets you connected with that. We'd love to be able to gift you that so you can see the community and the growth that's happening. Literally, I think we're up to about 55 or 60 members. Unbelievable how people's lives are taking off personally, professionally, and financially. And then also growstackdrive.com/free. That is a free preview for our GSD code. We'd love to have you hop on that and check that out as well. Guys, it's 12:06. It is time to watch some football on Saturday. Hey, if you would, again, I told you guys yesterday earlier, I tested positive for COVID. I get to go back on Wednesday and retest so I can make sure I'm good to go to my umpire clinic. Listen, follow us at Ken Jostle on Instagram. We're going to be running 2 or 3 different incremental, not monumental, 14-day, 21 days of challenges. We're going to be running some really cool things. Listen, we want the last 90 days of 2020 to be the best 90 days that you've experienced. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Look forward to connecting with you on social media. And again, our team would love to reach out if there's anything that you need. And if you would, text us at 404-737, lost it, 404-737-4464. That number is 404-737-4464. That goes directly to my cell phone. I'd love to communicate. I'd love to have you in our Grow Stack Drive community. You guys have a blessed and prosperous Saturday afternoon. Enjoy your weekend with your family. Thanks, guys.